Hello and welcome to Russ's Movie Corner. My name is Russ, and as you can see, I'm sitting in front of my movie corner. I forget to put that guy up, my Passion of the Christ DVD right here. And judging by the video around me, I'm doing another atheism video. Okay? Because I came across this video on my feed. So, SciManDan and I have kind of a storied history. I'm just going to kind of go over a little bit of it. I kind of mentioned this the last time I did my SciManDan video about Kent Hovind. This same thing. And I originally got into his channel because of the flat earth deals. As a lot of people probably know, the flat earth is a bunch of bunk, except for all those people that believe in it. Of which some of them are Christians, sad to say. And yeah, that kind of hurts, because being a Christian myself, I believe the earth is round. Nowhere ever does it say that it's flat. We don't live on a pizza. That's a whole nother video for a whole nother time. But I do subscribe to this guy because a lot of his flat earth videos are fairly entertaining. But, like with a lot of atheists, when they get onto a topic about someone, in terms of Christianity, in terms of things that they don't disagree with, they tend to kind of go in one of two directions. Either they will A, debate that person in a very logical fashion, or B, turn into a blithering idiot. And I'm sorry to say that poor Dan here has lost the meaning of what it means to be a science believer, because he goes completely off the rails here. I'm sorry to say. So, I'm going to play this video. It's only 10 minutes long. I'll pause it at certain parts, and I will discuss what's going on. But honestly, I'm not going to call him SciManDan, only because nowhere in here, in this video around me, does he do anything that even remotely comes close to science. Okay? So let's jump into this.
On Matt Powell, and I stated that he'd taken a job as Kent Hovind's PA because Kent Hovind was unfortunately in jail.
Okay, so apparently somebody, and I'm not sure who, filed an injunction against Kent Hovind for apparently domestic violence. I don't know. Okay? But he had called up Matt Powell before this ever happened. He had called up Matt Powell to come down to Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox and be a, kind of help him administer the Dinosaur Adventureland, be able to go on tours, be able to answer questions, be with Vim on videos, because Matt Powell has a very successful YouTube channel. Now, I saw the Whack and Atheist Wednesday of Matt Powell and Kent Hovind debunking everything that he said about them, and he looked completely silly. Which is one of the reasons why he's not attacking that video, he's doing a completely different video.
It seems that, for the moment at least, Kent has actually avoided any jail term, and he's still out and about making videos. Chiefly being a response to the Matt Powell video I mentioned at the start. Take a look at this. Well, being on Whack and Atheist yet again has inspired me to descend onto Kent's channel and take another look at him. And quite amazingly, he's recently released a video where he claims that the Grand Canyon was created in just 1 week.
So, he doesn't seem to believe that that water could cut a channel the size of the Grand Canyon in a week. And we're going to get into why that is here in a second. But this is something that not only Kent believes, okay, but Matt Powell believes it, and there's like a whole bunch of others out there that believe it, including some geologists, because now they're starting to take a look at just how fast water can actually change things. And if you're unfamiliar with the term rapid geology, here's your chance to Google it. So you're going to Google rapid geology, and one of the things that you're going to look at is you're going to look at the Mount St. Helens eruption from 1980. Specifically, the Upper Toutle River Valley. That's Tuttle for those of you that can't spell. The Toutle River Valley changed quite dramatically in just under 24 hours because of the mud flows off of the mountain when it was erupting. And that's just the small one. Imagine something the size of, say, Mount Rainier in Washington State going off. Yeah, think about that. This guy has no clue what the hell he's talking about, and we're going to get into that.
For Tuesday with me, SciManDan, thank you very much for joining me. Right, back to today's video, where we're delving into the mind of Kent Hovind and his quite alarming claim that the Grand Canyon was made in just 1 week. Hold on, everyone.
One of the biggest lies they teach the kids in school is that it took millions of years to make Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon formed in less than a week. Don't let them lie to you, kids. Grand Canyon's a washed-out dam.
There you go, everyone. The Grand Canyon is apparently a washed-out dam.
Yes, it is. For those of you that don't know what a dam is not a piece of concrete. A dam is anything that holds back water. That's what the actual scientific definition of a dam is. Okay? So what Kent Hovind is talking about, and we'll get into this, we'll get to a map and I'll show you. Okay, but basically what he's talking about is that there was this big plateau, okay, out behind where the headwaters of the Grand Canyon are. Okay? And it's called the Kiabab Plateau. Okay? And that used to be filled with water. In fact, they found evidence that there used to be water there before, so they wondered, where did all the water go? They found evidence of beaches. They found evidence of sand ripples and water ripples on on rock formations and everything on this plateau. So they know that there was this gigantic lake at one point. Question is, where's all the water? Come on, SciManDan. You should be able to tell us if you're really SciManDan, which I don't think you are. You're just plain Dan trying to play at science.
Of course, it's well understood that the Grand Canyon formed in around 5 to 6 million years.
No, it did not. It didn't. That is a lie, everyone. Okay? That is an absolute lie. It didn't form in 5 to 6 million years. It formed in days because of rapid geology. We know this. I'll get into it.
And that was due to, of course, the erosion from the Colorado River,
No.
which cut through the layers of rock. A river which is still in the bottom of that canyon today. It is agreed.
The only reason that that river is still in the bottom of that canyon today is because it can't go anywhere else, you dumbass. Okay? Water cuts its own channel when it first forms. Oh, and lest we forget that at the highest point in the Grand Canyon is actually like 5,000 or 6,000 feet above the actual place where the Kiabab Plateau starts, which is where the dam used to be that held back the water in that plateau, which geologists have nicknamed Grand Lake because it formed Grand Canyon. How does water flow uphill? Somebody want to answer that? It's fairly simple. If you have enough water, it'll flow through anything. But it's not going to cut a channel uphill over millions of years. It's going to go around. As it does in everything. Okay? Rapid geology explains this, but these people hold on to the thing that if you just keep throwing time at it, it'll eventually stick. It'll eventually sound plausible enough. Sorry, Dan, that's not what happened.
Amongst pretty much all geologists that the layers of rock that make up the Grand Canyon are up to 1.8 billion years old.
Well, they can say that, but they can't prove it. As we've discussed many times on this channel, the potassium-argon dating is based on faulty methodology, and they don't know how much potassium and argon are actually in these rocks when they're first formed. For more on this, go to David Rives. Okay? Dave Rives is in a Christian apologetics who studies a bunch of things. These scientists actually did do some crazy things, and they said, oh, guess what? They went to Mount St. Helens. And they picked up some rock samples, because they knew that when these rocks came out of the ground, they came out of the ground 41 million years ago. Or 41 years ago. Sorry, not 41 million. 41 years before. Not millions of years, but 41 years before. So when they test them, what date should they get? Probably 50 plus or minus 100 years. They got thousands. Which proves that their dating methods are faulty. Yet people like Dan here keep thinking, oh, well, see, we know beyond the shadow of a doubt that, these rock layers... No, you don't. You know it because some person with a couple of initials behind their name said, we think these are this many millions of years old. And you went, oh, really? Cool. Because you're believing the lie. Because the alternative is, if it's actually true, and there is a God, and there is heaven and hell, and there are consequences, well, then you have to have some kind of atonement for that. And you don't want to do that. So you would rather believe a lie than actually believe the truth. Which is fine. It's up to you. That's what free will is.
To further bolster the argument, it is well understood and proven that the age of the layers of rock decrease the further you move up through them. Now,
and no, they don't. Okay? They actually don't decrease in age. Because that, again, is based on throwing out the numbers that you don't want. So that it makes it look as if the layers are decreasing in age. That's what it is. You don't want to believe that, but that's what's actually happening. Okay? They've been doing it since carbon dating was made, okay? The most inaccurate dating method, and people still use it today because it's the only thing they have, okay, for dating certain types of carbon things. And the potassium-argon dating is even worse because they get numbers that range. They vary wildly, okay? And what they do is they go, well, we think the relationship between this isotope and this isotope is this, so we believe that the age is this. All the while just dispensing with everything else. Which means that they're lying. They're falsifying the records to get the date that they want. And then they stick it in a journal and somebody goes, good job. Peer-reviewed. What a bunch of bullshit.
Now, with all that covered, let's hear Kent's reasoning for his 1 week timeline.
Grand Canyon formed very rapidly. We had a dam right across here, across our lake, and several years ago, we cut a notch in the top, let the water start coming over the top. Within 4 minutes, the notch was 8 feet wide, and in 7 minutes, the whole dam was gone.
Okay.
So I'm going to back up just a teeny bit. I'm going to go right there. Okay? So, they had a dam, barrier, blocking water, and they just cut a tiny little notch of their own volition just to see what would happen, because they just wanted to see. They were like, we just want to see. And in 4 minutes, they had an 8-foot gap, okay, right here. You can see it right here above me, okay? And what you're seeing above is the aerial photograph of that, okay, event. Now, this isn't sandstone, but the sandstone of the Grand Canyon wasn't necessarily sandstone forever. Because water, when it cuts its own path, okay, will cut it very, very rapidly. And it follows the path of least resistance. Which if you watch if you look at an aerial photograph or a satellite image of the Grand Canyon in Arizona, USA, you will see that it wends like this. Okay? That's not water carving a path over millions of years. That is water, okay, that follows the path of least resistance very rapidly. Okay? It's how new river bends form during floods. Okay? A river can go in one direction, and then all of a sudden a flood comes and it cuts a new channel, and all of a sudden it doesn't go the long way anymore. It goes the fast way, because it chooses the path of least resistance. That's science. Not what SciManDan, who supposedly believes in science, actually knows. It's not what he's going to say.
It was 8 feet wide, and in 7 minutes the whole dam was gone.
Okay, so your first piece of evidence is that a tiny pond that you built wiped out some soil when you made a tiny hole in it. Right. Hardly groundbreaking stuff, Kent, is it?
Seriously?
You're going to have to do much better than that.
Dams erode fast. Anytime a lake gets too full, it finds the lowest point, cuts a notch, and drains the lake. That's what happened at Purdue University. This huge dam was cut right across there, drained the whole thing in 15 minutes. That's what happened in San Francisco. This mountain range in the south and mountain range in the north, if they were connected, if you plugged up that gap, a great big lake would fill up in the middle of California.
So what he's saying is that San Francisco Bay, okay, if you follow the logic, San Francisco Bay is a washed out dam. Because right where those two mountain ranges connect, okay, you have the northern mountain range coming down, you have the southern mountain range coming up, where they connect, okay, right there where the river comes into the bay, that was the point where it drained through. So what he's saying is the Simi Valley there, okay, Napa Valley basically out there, okay, in the middle between the Sierra Nevadas and then Cascades in the north and the Sierra Nevadas, and not the Sierra Nevadas, but the LA mountains in the south. There's that little notch right there, okay? And that whole thing, that whole valley, which is now very fertile, which is where they grow all those, wonderful wines that people talk about, the Napa Valley wines, all of that used to be underwater, is what Kent was saying. And he's saying that little notch, okay, right where San Francisco is, right here, okay, this place, that used to be, this part right here used to be part of that dam. And eventually, what happened was, the lake got so full that it went up and then it started carving a notch, and when that notch went, the rest of it went. And what's left is, you have this lake here that feeds into the bay. And that's it. I think that's pretty compelling. If you've got something different, you let me know. I'm pretty sure you don't, because that's pretty damn scientific if you ask me.
It got too full, went over the top, washed out San Francisco Bay, left behind the best dirt in the world, and probably formed that canyon 50 or 100 years after Noah's flood, and probably took about 3 days to make all that.
Okay, but isn't most of that stuff after human intervention?
Years after Noah's flood, and probably took about 3 days to make.
So this is what he's saying. The blue area right here, okay, is the valley, and that was what was full. And then this is the canyon, okay? This is what formed. This is the canyon that formed right here, okay? And so what he's saying is that there was probably a little notch in that canyon where the water started to flood over, and then it went out into San Francisco Bay. So all of this right here, okay, is the delta from that. Because you always have an alluvial fan at the end of every single one. You have an alluvial fan right here under the ocean. Okay? If that makes sense.
Make all that.
Okay, but isn't most of that stuff after human intervention?
What human intervention? What human intervention are you talking about? You're assuming that there were humans living on the west coast of what we now call North America at the time who maybe carved a channel and drained it? Is that what you're trying to say? Because if that's what you're trying to say, I think you're really stretching there, Dan. Okay? Because there was never any evidence that there were people there until after Noah's flood. Because most of the records that we have stretch back to about 3500 BC, which would be about the right time for people to start settling over there. And he's saying it formed 50 to 100 years after the flood. Do you understand now how stupid this sounds?
The Grand Canyon formed completely naturally.
Dams can break quickly.
No, it didn't form completely. Well, okay, it did form completely naturally, but not in the way you're thinking. It wasn't eroded over millions of years. It was very, very quickly. That's what we're trying to tell you. Yes, it is a natural thing, because eventually it comes up and it breaks over, and then it just follows the path of least resistance. You're not listening, Dan. Because you've taken these blinders and you've stuck them on like this, and you've stuck earplugs in, and you're like, la 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 la, can't hear you. That's what you're doing. You're in an echo chamber. Your own echo chamber. Stop.
Is about 45 miles wide and 60 miles long, and at 7,000 to 8,000 foot elevation.
So this is what Kent is talking about here. Okay? At the top end of Grand Canyon, it is at 2,800 feet, or about 900 meters. Okay? When it started to wash out, the actual top of the Grand Canyon is between 6,900 and 8,500 feet, or 2,100 to 2,600 meters. Do you understand this yet? Water doesn't flow uphill. So how would the river have had to have formed? If it was forming slowly over many millions of years, it wouldn't have chosen to go through the hardest rock. What you're seeing at the bottom of the canyon right now, as the river is lazily going along about its trip, okay, is there's not much erosion, except when there's a lot of snowfall, and then you have some of that stuff come into the canyon, and the river rises a little bit, and then erosion happens. But that's it. That doesn't explain how we could cut a channel through rock that much. Okay? It had to have formed rapidly. And it had to have happened before the rocks settled. if you have, what is sandstone? I'll give you a second to figure out what sandstone is. You got it yet? It's sand, okay, that after a long while, the molecules in between the grains of sand compacted and turned to calcium, turned to stone. The minerals around it turned to stone. It's called calcification, okay? That's all it is. Sandstone is still a very, very soft rock comparatively. Okay? I mean, like sandstone layers, that's why we don't build houses in certain areas, because there's sandstone. And just like Jesus taught, if you build your house on sand, when the waters rise and the wind beats against it and the rain lashes at it, that house falls because it doesn't have a firm foundation. Duh. That's a duh moment, okay? Something that this idiot doesn't understand. Just because it says stone afterwards doesn't mean it's as hard as granite to where we have to like drill into it with special bits and throw dynamite in it to blast it to make holes. Sandstone is very, very soft. Okay? So even if the top layers were made of sandstone, it still would be very, very rapid in terms of being able to wash out a lot of it. And even now, geologists are coming back to this, and they're going, yeah, we believe that at the end of the last ice age, when the ice was melting and it filled up some of these reservoirs, that yeah, there were some dams, some barriers blocking the water that broke open and caused these things to happen. Because they know that sandstone is very soft, and that water rushing through it. Now, they could say, over the course of 10,000 years, yes, it probably cut a fairly rapid channel since the end of the last ice age. Okay? They've revised their theories in light of what happened at Mount St. Helens. Because something happened that day that until that point no geologist had ever thought of. Rapid geology. Something so quick and catastrophic that could literally change the face of the earth in a very, very monumental way. It devastated millions of acres of trees. Okay? It killed people, and it literally took the Toutle River Valley and turned it into a completely different place than it was in 1979. Because of the lahars, the power of the water that just whoo. And then they saw another phenomenon of rapid geology that nobody had thought was ever possible. Sinkholes. Places where water pools and it something happens and it starts moving underwater. It starts moving under the ground. And it cuts a channel like a drill. And eventually, the ground becomes so soft beneath that part that it just falls in on itself. Call them sinkholes. Rapid geology. It can change the landscape like that. That's the reason why we call it rapid geology. And ever since then, okay, geologists have been studying the before and after photographs of the upper Toutle River Valley. And they have really been kind of like really studying this phenomena. They've been out there, they've been taking measurements, they've been doing things. And they're starting to notice that when they've had other earthquakes, when they've had other things that have this kind of stuff happen, they realized that rapid geology is a thing. Okay? And it's something that someone like SciManDan is going to ignore completely because he can. That's fine. He's welcome to do that. But don't call yourself SciManDan if you choose to ignore the science.
It's like this big bump I made here. If this was the Kiabab plateau, if you plugged up Grand Canyon, which cuts across like this, a great big lake would fill up behind it. There was a lake that went all the way back to Colorado. Then it got too full, it found the lowest point, and it started meandering around, and it would start eating at the other side. Canyons always wash out from the far side in.
So here, if you watch this part of the video, this is them cutting a small hole. So what they're doing is they're artificially cutting a small channel, okay, to the top of the water to see how quickly the water would rush out, okay? Now, another thing is, how much does water weigh? Go figure that out, then come back and tell me that water can't form a channel through solid stone.
Yes, Kent, but this is rock we're talking about here. Water isn't going to cut through rock in a week.
Yes, it will. It absolutely fucking will. Okay? Given enough water and enough sand and silt and rock in that water, oh hell yeah it can, dude. Oh my fucking god, are you serious? What the hell? Okay, here's an experiment for you to do. There, Dan. Okay? Go to the beach. Anywhere. Doesn't matter. It can even be along a river. Okay? Dig a small hole about yay big around. Then dig a small channel out to the surface of the water. Then grab a bucket, walk up, and fill that bitch up. And I guarantee you that once the weight of the water compacts all the sand beneath it, and there's a pool of water sitting in there, as soon as that water gets to the top of that little crest, it's going to wash out. And you are going to see erosion happen right before your very eyes. Because what is rock? It's solidified. It's inorganic, solid matter is all it is. But it's the same stuff that your dirt is made of. It's the same stuff that other rocks, smaller pebbles are made of. You people can't even grasp this simple little concept. It is beyond me. Let's finish this up.
So there may have been some obstacles it had to go around, but it would start off on level ground and eat its way down until it got down deep enough to be at the bottom of the lake, to drain the lake. It probably drained that lake in less than a week.
So what Kent is saying there is that as soon as it started up through the topmost layers of the Grand Canyon, okay, it cut a channel, and then as that water got deeper and deeper, soon enough it was at the level of where now you had the full force of that water behind it. And it started pushing through that. So, we don't know how long it took to get to that level. But what he's saying is, once it got to that level, the rest of it didn't take very long. Because that's why you see all those little cutouts at the sides. Because that's where, when the rock was being cut out, okay, it would eat away at the layers underneath, and then the rocks above would fall down. And that just caused more erosion. I mean, come on, man. A 5-year-old could grasp this. Why can't you? Because I can tell you that I was 5 years old on a beach dumping water down channels. And when I got older and I started studying about erosion, I'm like, I remember erosion just not taking much time at all. And it's so amazing to me that when they have landslides and they go, oh, I didn't realize that it was going to be so destructive. Did you forget? Erosion's a thing, man. It's a force of nature, and it happens very, very quickly. And we tend to forget. So we sit back in our stupid-ass non-infinite time and go, oh, it takes forever for that place to go, whoom! Oh, wow, I guess it does happen rapidly. And then 5 years later, It never happened. Come on, man.
The Grand Canyon today is about 18 miles wide and a mile deep, and it's a broken dam.
As we've discussed before, people like Kent and Matt Powell don't have the millions or billions of years to play with when they talk about stuff like this.
And neither do you. Neither do you. Because you don't know that we've had millions or billions of years to play with. You're hoping that there's millions and billions of years to play with. But the more we look at things, the more we suddenly realize that it didn't take millions or billions of years. Because what could have possibly changed a climate very rapidly? A flood. A global flood. I mean, have you ever wondered why? So you see this peninsula right behind him. That is the Arabian Peninsula. Okay? And right about there is the nation of Iraq, which is where it was said that the Garden of Eden was. And where the flood happened, because the mountains of Ararat are right up here. Okay? And right here on this peninsula is the greatest concentration of oil in the entire globe. They've been pumping it out for ages. Ever since we discovered it there, okay, back in the early 1900s, we've been pumping it out steadily, year after year after year, without it ever fucking drying up. There had to have been something there. Because it's a fucking desert. There had to have been something organic there. Can you think of what it might have been? I don't know. Maybe the cradle of fucking civilization that got covered over by dirt in a matter of days. That created the thickest layer of oil on the planet. Because we know it doesn't take millions of years to make a diamond. Hell, we can do it now in a lab in a couple of hours. So we know it doesn't take millions of years for it to happen. Everything they talk about, they try to throw time at it like it's some dumb, stupid thing. And it's not. Stop. Now, an ad's going to play here in a second because fucking YouTube is running ads all the fucking time.
Of course, come up with a story that satisfies all their followers. However,
so just 1 second here. I'm going to be able to skip this.
here in the real world, Kent, your story won't wash.
Well, it's a lot better than yours, son. Because you're going to have to prove how water can flow uphill for millions of years to cut the channel you say takes millions of years. Come on, show me. My story sounds a hell of a lot more plausible than yours.
See what I did there?
No one cares about your
In the summer of
dumb,
2021,
stupid thing.
we had a big storm, and this lake got too full. It went over the top right here. The water's running this way, and it started eroding this way. All canyons do that. The water goes this way, the groove comes this way. If we'd let it keep running, it would have eaten a giant canyon all the way back here from this little bitty pond. It does not take millions of years to make erosion like that.
No, it
Probably
doesn't.
took about 1 hour to erode all that dirt away.
And even you are saying it, Kent. It's dirt.
It's dirt. What the fuck is sandstone then? It's dirt. That's a little bit harder. But if I run millions of gallons over it, I can still erode it, you moron!
Honestly, to compare the formation of the Grand Canyon with water cutting a hole through a dirt road that you own is quite simply preposterous.
No, it's not, Dan. What's preposterous is you trying to think that it takes millions of years to erode uphill. Water doesn't flow uphill, Dan. It flows down.
During the storm last summer, the water came pouring out of the woods here, came right across our little road, and began washing out this canyon in less than an hour.
Yeah, and you see the big boulders in the bottom of this canyon? Or do you not have eyes, Dan? Look at this. Look at this. Look at this picture. I know I'm blocking a tiny bit of it, but look at it. There's literally big-ass boulders right there. Do you not see the boulders right there? Come on, man.
In an hour.
Moron.
Less than an hour? No way, Kent. That is positively rapid, isn't it? Well, that's good enough proof for me.
Wow, that's positively rapid, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Just like the Upper Toutle River Valley, which you should probably Google before you make an ass of yourself again, Dan. Oops. Too late.
It did not take millions of years. Once the water starts moving, it picks up speed, going downhill, and it picks up gravel, sand, and clay, and it becomes liquid sandpaper. It can eat out a giant canyon like this in 1 hour. It does not take millions of years.
Liquid sandpaper.
Yes. Again, dude. Google lahars. Landslides. How the fuck do you think they're triggered, you dumb shit? Ugh. I can't. This guy's an idiot. This guy calls himself SciManDan and he doesn't even know what lahars are. I just... Oh, God. Somebody educate this man. I'm trying my best. Get my videos in front of him.
Well, that's a new one.
Notice there's all nice, neat layers here. The layers would have formed during the flood of Noah, and we just cut a canyon in it in real quick with one big storm.
That's it. That's all it takes.
I love how they do a slow motion pan with the music as a way to try and convince you that what he's saying is true.
Well, it's better than sitting there going, water takes millions of years to flow uphill and cut a channel as big as the Grand Canyon, because, you know, that's totally a thing. Really?
Probably. I love how they pop that word in there as a failsafe.
That's all you ever use. Probably. It probably did this. And as if by magic, every single organism was wiped off the face of the earth. But as if by magic, something survived. You don't even realize what you're saying, dude. You say that all the time. The only time that you're not saying that is when you're talking to flat earthers. So, why don't you just stick with the flat earth BS and let us handle the real science?
Totally hilarious. Yeah, it drains a lake and then creates a 277-mile long, 18-mile wide, 1-mile deep canyon in a week.
Yes, if you have enough water behind it. Again, Google the weight of water. And then Google lahars. You absolute moron.
Sure it does, Ken.
I'm going to pause it here for 1 second. Okay, I want you to see this. Okay, because This was a reservoir, okay? It had 1.5 billion gallons of water flowing down this channel right here. Do you see how wide that is? Just look at it. Okay? And that's trees and rock and soil that it cut through. That channel didn't form in millions of years. It formed in a few hours. Because as soon as this dam that holds the reservoir, this thick-ass piece of dirt right here, broke open. Okay? Think about it. Now think about a lake the size of Texas or Alaska that drains. It can do a hell of a lot in a few days. Absolute moron. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to kind of show you this. This is how wide the channel is at the top. Okay, it narrows down because as it went down, okay, it found a notch where the water could go through fairly quickly, okay, and so it formed a channel. But you see how wide this channel is at the top. It's huge because there was a hell of a lot of water behind it. Okay? You'd have to be an absolute moron not to understand that. And so here's a dam failure in Ohio. So this is the map, okay? This is the map. So basically what he's saying is that right here is the Grand Canyon. Okay? And up here, this is the lake. Okay? And it's a big fucking lake. Okay, it had a lot of water in it. Okay? And it split open here, and it drained all the way down here. Because this up here is higher than down here or even down here. So the headwaters, so where this lake starts and where it ends is lower than the top of the mountain range that the Grand Canyon cuts through. And had there not been this channel that was carved in a matter of days, it's likely that it would have gone in a different direction. The river would have gone somewhere else, probably down over this way. Okay? Probably from here, down over this way, it would have cut a channel eventually. But it didn't. It broke through right here. And so this is all now gone. And the thing is, where this lake is, they found evidence of water. Okay. This guy has no clue.
A dam failed and gouged out a canyon in 45 seconds. It's coming. There's going to be a huge canyon on the other side of those trees, let me tell you.
So this is dam failures, okay? Where in 1889 the South Fork Dam in Pennsylvania broke open, caused 2,209 people to lose their lives and 17 million in damage. In 1972, the Buffalo Creek Dam in West Virginia killed 125 people and caused $400 million in damage. Now here's another thing. How much water is in the reservoir behind, say, Hoover Dam? Anyone ever thought of that? And what would happen if that dam broke open? Has anyone thought of that? Really? Thought of it? Or not? Because I was thinking about that when I was thinking about this video. And I get to this thing where I'm like, you know what? I don't think Dan really knows. And so basically what he's saying here, it says, worldwide there have been more than 200 notable dam and reservoir failures this past century. More than 8,000 people have died in these disasters. Failure of these dams, as well as others, have led in recent years to added emphasis on dam safety at the state and national levels. The potential for dam-related disasters continues to grow with aging dams and increasing residential and commercial development downstream of dams. In many cases, existing dams will need to be upgraded to keep downstream areas safe. In other cases, dams may need to be removed. Basically just you take out the dam and you let the reservoir do what it does best, which is flood the area and have rapid geology. Something Dan knows very little about. I'll get done with this and then I'll finish up the video.
Failures are not good evidence to show that the Grand Canyon formed in a week.
And yet, your evidence is this rock layer down here is supposedly older than this rock layer up here, so therefore the Colorado River had to cut a channel through this thing uphill over millions of years. I think dam failures are much better evidence than what you're proposing, son.
There is no way that any volume of water can create a canyon as large and as long as the Grand Canyon in those timescales.
Dan, go Google Upper Toutle River Valley, May 1980. Now! Absolute moron.
No way. Unless, of course, Kent, you want to set up an experiment where you can show us this happening. The very, very top layers of the Grand Canyon are a form of sandstone. So why don't you do that, Kent? Get a big slab of sandstone and run some water over it for a week, constantly.
It's not about the amount of water. It's not about just continuously running water over sandstone for a week, which will actually cause erosion in sandstone, by the way, because this guy's a complete asshat. But beyond that, okay, we know that if he were to, say, get millions of gallons of water and run it over the same sandstone with extra sand, gravel, clay, it would erode very quickly. We know this because we've actually seen it happen. Again, May 1980.
And see what happens. Well, there we go. Another fast.
Okay, there we go. We're done. This guy is a complete fool. Okay? Complete fool. From now on, whenever one of his videos comes up, I'm going to bring it on this channel and I'm going to make him understand just how stupid this sounds. You are not SciManDan. I'm not calling you SciManDan anymore. You are just Dan. Okay? Because you have no clue what the hell is going on in the real world. You are stuck in fantasy land of science. Trademark. So we're done here. Okay? We're done. You're done. Anytime you feel like you want a shellacking, make another dumbass video like this. I will come back and hand your ass to you again. Because honestly, if you don't think that something can happen to rock layers very, very quickly, go Google Toutle River Valley, May 1980. Specifically, May 18th, 1980. I'm older than the Mount St. Helens eruption by 5 months, son. That makes me older than dirt. And it makes me a hell of a lot more knowledgeable than you. Because I've actually studied what that dirt does and how it works. You haven't. So don't even pretend you know. Sorry, my voice is kind of in and out. You're done. Take this video down. Take it off your channel. Don't ever touch the subject again. Because if you do, I'm going to come back and I'm going to hand your ass to you again. And I don't care how many of your followers come in and go, he's acting so pompous. I don't care. Until you can prove to me how water can flow uphill for millions of years, you have no argument. Lest we forget that most of those geologists that he was talking about, okay, after May 1980, after they started studying the effects of rapid geology, after the Pinatubo explosion, after a few of the other eruptions, Mount Etna, there was a couple of other eruptions, okay, Kilimanjaro, there's been a lot of eruptions in the last 100 years, okay? And geologists have been doing a lot of studying about lahars, and they know how fast and how destructive they can be, and how they can cut canyons in hours. And they can cut new paths for rivers in a matter of hours. They know that rapid geology is a thing. You don't. So until you can accept that, don't make these videos, because I'm going to have to come in and show you that you are as stupid as you sound. So stop. Just stop. My name is Russ. This has been Russ's Movie Corner. I'm glad you could join me for today. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of the video series. Yeah, I get a little heated about this stuff because when people are this ignorant, I get a little frustrated with them. Okay? Because if you're going to call yourself SciManDan, then you better fucking know science. Because if I have to explain it to you, that automatically invalidates any argument you ever could have had. And since I have explained it to you, Dan, because you don't know what you're talking about, then your argument in this case is completely invalid. And until you can prove to me that water can run uphill for millions of years, you're an idiot. You don't know anything about geology. So, I have been Russ for Russ's Movie Corner. I have a few other projects in the works. I just saw the Eternals. I'm going to have to do a video on that. I'll probably do it tomorrow. And I'll try to get these videos uploaded in the next couple weeks. And I'll try to get a lot of these things done. And I've got some other videos I've got to do. And of course, I have my movie wall right here. I do need to get to some of these movie reviews. Sometimes these kind of videos take my focus because that's how my brain works. Somebody does something stupid, I have to shut them down. Otherwise, I'm thinking about it for 2 weeks. So, sorry guys. I'll get to the Eternals and I'll get to some of the other stuff. And I also just received the Hero Quest backing today from Avalon Hill and Hasbro, HasLab. I just did an unboxing video on it. I'm also going to do another video tomorrow where I'm going to kind of go over the components. I'm going to talk about some of the components. I'm going to talk about some of the differences between the games, the similarities between the games. So we're going to get into that. It's going to be awesome. So look for those videos in the next few days. And my name is Russ. This has been Russ's Movie Corner. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.